Hey everybody, how you doing? My name is Jason, and I just wanted to do this video to make everyone aware, my loved ones and my friends, of why I've been so freaked out lately. There's something that happened in Colorado that's really got me disturbed. There's a young man named Matthew Williams. Matthew Williams is 27 years old. He lives in Lakewood, Colorado, and he was just recently charged with first-degree murder and of a woman by the name of Olivia Hector. Olivia Hector is an exotic dancer that works at a strip club in Colorado. The person I was telling you about, Matthew, was with this woman at a hotel, and a couple of days later, well, a day and a half, I believe, she was found dead. And what the coroner originally said in the case was that he didn't have any he couldn't definitely say that it was homicide. That's what the first coroner said. Well, the law enforcement decided that they wanted to go and get another opinion from a second specialist. And that's when the second specialist determined that it was strangulation. But when you look at the newspaper article, they say man arrested, after woman found strangled at a Motel 6. That's what you see in the headlines. And the very, very first line of the article says, like I think it said 150 days later or something, some insane number of days later, they had him the strangler. He's a strangler, but they don't mention anything about the first coroner report saying that it could not definitely be homicide. They only mention the specialist, the second person that they brought in to get a second opinion. So what do we do with the first coroner? We just slap them in the head and tell them they don't know what they're doing and that their work is garbage? Or did the second coroner come out? Did the first coroner say, okay, I'm sorry, I must have made a mistake? No, it was none of that. You don't even hear anything about the first specialist. You don't even hear anything about the first coroner. You don't even know the name. They didn't even give you the name, but they did give you Dr. Smock. They did give you that name of the person who came in and determined that it was indeed a homicide. So, Matthew was questioned at his home about this, and when the officers asked him if he knew Olivia Hector, he said yes, he was familiar with her, he was friends with her, they dated for a little while and just had kind of like a off again friendship, and he told them that, and then he said, well, if it's got anything to do with Olivia, trust me, there's some drama involved, because they have a very dramatic history. Fights, verbal or otherwise. And so he had told them, yeah, she's a wild one, and yeah, there's always drama following her because she's has some demons following her, and she can be very difficult at times. And he told them that. Well, they didn't take him into custody because they were satisfied with the answers that he gave. Later on, Matthew decides that he's going to go and talk to them. They didn't have to chase him down. They didn't put out a warrant for his arrest. He agreed to come in and speak with them. And after he agreed to come in and speak with them, that's when he was arrested and he was charged. What is interesting about this is that when you read this article about Matthew Williams and this woman that he supposedly strangled, what you find is at the end of this article, it's a long article, but at the very, very end of this article, there's a very, very small little paragraph. It's not even in the same font as the rest of the article. And in that article, they mention an officer who was also being questioned about this young lady. Enter Shedrick Dobbin, Officer Shedrick Dobbin from the Denver Police Department. Shedrick Dobbin and this woman, Olivia Hector, knew one another and possibly had some sort of relationship based on Mr. Dobbin's behavior. The reason why I say this is because 2 days, just over 2 days before Olivia Hector was discovered dead, this officer went to go see her at the strip club that she worked at. This was a regular occurrence. Many people that work at the strip club have said that he frequented the strip club. So much so that there was a video that was released. They had video footage of Officer Dobbin visiting Olivia Hector at the strip club 2 days before she was murdered. In fact, Officer Dobbin left work an hour early, he says, from Denver to drive to Lakewood, where Miss Hector was a dancer, I believe. She danced at the strip club here. And he says he left work an hour early, in which he was reprimanded for that. He was reprimanded for leaving work early, not only leaving work early and going to a strip club, but also because he ran Olivia Hector's name through the criminal database to look up her background to see if she had warrants. He was not on duty when he did it. He was off duty, which makes this, I don't know, I don't understand how it's not a crime. They said it's a violation of police conduct or policy to use the criminal database system when you're not on duty. Officer Shedrick Dobbin did this. He did it on more than one occasion. This time he looked up the woman who was found dead. And when he was asked about this, he said he wanted to run her name to see if she had warrants, to see if she was someone that he could be associated with. Sounds like a solid story, right? The problem is, anytime you look up someone in a criminal database and you're not on duty as a police officer, this is called a violation of privacy. You can be sued for this. You can be sued for this. You can be arrested for this because you're not looking up anyone while you're on duty. You're looking up someone while you're off duty, and that is a violation of privacy. He looked up Olivia Hector and what they called 2 associates. Now, who are these 2 associates? We don't know who they are. And I'll tell you why we don't know who they are. Because if you knew the names of the 2 associates that he looked up in his criminal database system, then the 2 people that he looked up would be notified that their names were looked up while the officer was off duty, and the officer would be charged with a crime. Because that is a violation of privacy. You cannot look up people's names when you are not on duty. The 2 associates don't even know who they are because they were not named in the article. Only Olivia Hector's name was in the article because she was that was the name of the deceased woman. And deceased women do not sue police departments, do they? So, with that in mind, they spoke with Matthew, and the reason why they said they arrested him, they had enough evidence because he was asked if he and Olivia Hector had been intimate. He said they had an on-again, off-again sexual relationship, but they had not been intimate the day that he saw her. He said that the day he saw her, he got up to leave because she said she wanted to be alone. He said this was not uncommon. If she needed her alone time, he gave her her alone time at the Motel 6. Was there anyone who came to this hotel room after Matthew Williams? We don't know. But you would think that there would be surveillance. You would think that there would be surveillance of someone coming and leaving this hotel room. But we don't know that as of yet. And the police officer said they found DNA, Matthew Williams' DNA on the leg of the deceased. They also said that this woman, Olivia Hector, had paperwork on her person from 4 years ago. So who carries around paperwork for 4 years and hangs out with them in a hotel room? It doesn't make sense to me. But that's one of the very interesting facts that we know of. All we know is that the police said that they found Matthew Williams' DNA on her leg, and they didn't say what kind. They didn't say what kind of DNA it was. They didn't say if it was saliva. They don't know if it was semen. They don't know if it was a hair. But if someone is hanging out with someone in a hotel room, chances are that person's DNA is going to be found in that hotel room somewhere. Depending on what kind of DNA we're talking about. But Yeah, that's the story. That's where we are now. And the reason why I wanted to bring this to everyone's attention is because at the very least, this officer Shedrick Dobbin, at the very least, this man should be fired from the police department. If you are connected with a dead exotic dancer whose name you looked up on the criminal database while you were not on duty, I would think that would be a terminable offense, especially at a police department. But that's not what happened. That's not exactly what happened with Officer Shedrick Dobbin. What happened with him was he was given a 10-day suspension, a reprimand that came down to him within 24 hours of Matthew Williams' arrest. So Shedrick's behavior as a police officer was not enough to get him fired, but it was enough to give him a 10-day suspension. Well, that's what we know. And I just wanted to make everyone aware of the situation. This whole thing, it just doesn't add up. It doesn't add up to me. And if anybody else has any information regarding this, please don't hesitate to, you can go on Facebook, you can go on Twitter, and I'll put the tags on this video for you to, any information that you might have, you can share it. So thank you very much. I'm Jason, and I hope this whole thing gets sorted out very fast.